Hello, George Hepworth, Grover Park Consulting. Let's build Mike's mobile library. I thought I'd do something a little different today. We've been doing some heavy lifting. Let's do something a little more fun. You know how in Access you can communicate information to a user through pop-ups or dialogues or message boxes. If something happens and you want to provide immediate feedback to a user, you can use a dialog. Let me show you quickly what that might look like. Here's an example that I pulled out of an existing Access application. This is a built-in message box that Access uses to alert the user that something is going to happen. Here I just selected this record, hit the delete key, and Microsoft Access popped up this little message box to confirm that I really do want to delete this record before it actually commits that delete. We don't have this kind of feedback mechanism in PowerApps, but we can do something that will work just as well. Let me show you how. We have our PowerApps development environment open, and I've launched the development copy of the mobile library application. I'm going to show you quickly how this works, and then I'll explain what I had to do to make it work the way it works. I'm going to add a new test publication. We'll go through the plus icon to get to the publication screen. We'll add a publication called my deletable book. And I won't put any more of the other information in it because I don't want to waste too much time. We'll save that, and when we go back we can see DEL, and now it's there. We can come here. Let's add an author to it so we can test both. Actually, the pop-up appears in two different places, so we'll work on it in both places. So there's the default, and let's just give it to Samuel Beckett, and we'll link those two. So now we have Samuel Beckett linked to deletable book. That was a mistake, so how do I correct it? First, I click on the delete linked author icon. And now I have what looks a lot like the pop-up we saw in our introduction, although there are some significant differences. The background is faded out somewhat, but there is a little pop-up right in the middle of the screen with two active command buttons. This is a custom dialog as opposed to the one we saw in the intro. It tells me I have selected the linkage between My Delectable Book and Samuel Beckett, and I'm going to delete that link. If I say no, I go right back and everything is the way it was. If I click yes, two things happen. That linkage goes away and my pop-up disappears. Now if I go back here to the publication screen, I can do the same thing. Click the icon to delete. It says delete my deletable book. There's the label or the title, the header on my little pop-up. The background is faded out so we can focus our attention only on a little pop-up. Yes and no are the two options, and they are both enabled. Again, if I click no, it simply dismisses the pop-up. If I click yes, then it goes ahead and runs the code to delete that volume. One last test that I want to make to show you a slight variation of those two. I'm going to add in test it. Good. Ooh, too much typing there. Okay. We'll save that. Test it good. Come back in. Link that to another author, and this time we will select Walt Gasson and link him. But this time, instead of deleting the linkage, I'm going to go back to the publication page where I have this publication, and this time I'm going to try to delete the publication. However, when I try to delete this publication from the publication screen, I still have an assigned author. This time, I get an error message saying a publication with an existing author link cannot be deleted. Remove the author. This is the built-in way that PowerApps provides notifications. And although it does work effectively and although it is visible, I find them a little bit problematic in that they appear at the top of the screen. They're in small print. They're more easily overlooked than an in-your-face message box or pop-up box in the center of the screen. So although it does work, I think the idea of having a pop-up or a message box enhances the user's experience. So let's go back, remove the link. We're selected here, selected there, delete. Yes, I want to get rid of it. Go back. And this time, I get the pop-up allowing me to say, yes, I want to delete this book, or no, I don't. Removes it, sends me back to the publication. So that's really all there is to the two pop-ups. Let's look at the code that makes that happen. First, I'm going to dismiss my filter, stop playing the app. I'm going to go to Edit Screen. Select the delete icon and let's look at the code behind it. It does several things. First, we create a little collection called collection pub. It's a filter applied to the publication creator table, and it's looking to see if the current publication, that's the one that we have selected in our publication screen, if that publication ID exists in the publication creator table, that tells us that we have at least one author publication link set up, and we can't delete the publication if it's tied to an existing author. So before we can continue with our delete, we have to break that linkage. We create the little publication to do a count. If the number of rows in that publication or in that collection is greater than 0, yes, there is one, we throw up the notification. I could do another pop-up here, and perhaps eventually this will end up with a second pop-up. But for our purposes of comparing the two methods today, the notification, which is the built-in, and the pop-up, I decided to leave it here so you can see the two different alternatives. And then we just notify, which is a built-in command. We can't remove that book because there's an author assigned to it. And then if the number of rows is 0, we simply update a variable called delete confirm. And I'll show you how this variable works next. Return through this one more time just to make sure it's all clear. We see how many instances of this current publication exist in our function table. If there is one or more, we say no, we can't do it. We have to remove that link. If there is 0 rows, then we're just simply changing the value of this variable. Why are we changing the value of the variable? This is a bit tricky. I have created a control called rec confirm delete pub. This control, this rectangle, this control, which is a rectangle, as you can see, covers the entire real estate of the screen below the header. It has as its visible property the value of that little variable that we just set, or didn't set. If we failed the conditional, then this won't be changed. If this variable is true, if delete confirm is true, then this rectangle will be visible. If delete confirm is false, then it won't be visible. Its fill is set to white at about 50% opacity, or you can see through it about 50%. And that's how we achieve that faded out color. You can adjust this percentage here. This is from 0.5, which is half, or 50%, up or down to get the result that you want to see in your pop-ups. Then there are some other controls. There's a rectangle, and it appears here. And you can see that's the space occupied by our pop-up. And in fact, this little rectangle serves the purpose of providing a pop-up message box. Unlike a message box in Access where you can grab it and move it around the screen, this is fixed in position. But it does have the same visible property. If delete confirm is true, you can see it. If delete confirm is false, you can't see it. We have two buttons. This is the one that says yes, and this one is the one that says no. If you click on the no, I'm going to cancel this. Let's look at the text just to make sure we're telling you what I think I'm telling you. Okay. No, cancel is the text on this one. And the text on this one, I won't force you to go through this again. I just wanted to do it one time so you can kind of get the whole picture. Yes, delete. So those buttons will appear with their two captions. The on select does this. It simply removes the publication. And the reason we're putting this pop-up here in the first place really is that remove immediately deletes that item from the table with no further interaction with the user. So in order to avoid that immediate no chance to say whoops, we went through the process of creating this pop-up. Once we have removed it, then we recreate our collection. And you've seen this code before. This is the code that creates the publications collection that we use in the other screen, the publication screen. And then the last step is to, well, the next to last step is to go back to the publication screen. And the final step is to update, again, this variable. We update context that changes this from true to false. And that makes all of these items disappear. I believe there's one more item in that. That's the title, and it has the same thing. It's delete. The text of it is delete concatenated with the currently selected title. That's really how we create a pop-up with a dialog for the user in PowerApps in order to avoid the problem of having actions like removing a record happen immediately with no chance to say whoops. And it also gives us a better way to at least in my mind, the ability to put a message in the center of the screen with a lot more detail that gives the user an option, click yes or click no. And theoretically, you could put multiple options there. Click yes, click no, click for help, for example. And it gives you a lot more flexibility in interacting with the user. Now, I think we've gone about as long as we need to today. The other pop-up on the publication creator screen works very much the same way with the same sort of commands, so I don't think we really need to invest a lot of time going through that with you. But if you'd like, you can put that in the comments and I can show you that other code in a future video if you want to see it. Again, I will ask you, if you have found this informative or useful or helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Thank you.